will be a video from a cockpit of a B-52 showing a UFO coming very close to the cockpit and showing clearly an alien sitting inside the UFO. Victor, in 1996, was talking about cosmic rays bathing the Earth, calling it the grand deluge of the solar. If 14, 15 people in the racing industry died of some suicides and maybe some violent occurrences, some guy in his trunk, I would raise an eyebrow. And in that freaking SOM manual is OPNEC BBS, the facility where to take living biological beings. Why are these people 30 years later unwilling for $35,000 to simply come forward to tell us what the provenance of that video is? Don't discredit the internet people that helped me. I did not do this on my own.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond Top Secret by UAP Reporting Center. Today, we're taking a deep dive into what might be one of the most explosive and heavily debated pieces of leaked footage in the entire history of the UFO phenomena. Our guest today is someone who spent more than 2 decades in the trenches, tracking down leads, cross-referencing witnesses, witness testimonies, and just doing the hard work to separate fact from fiction. He's a respected UAP researcher. He ran for president on the Libertarian ticket. He ran for Congress. And he was the driving force behind the thought-provoking documentary Hunting Victor, a film that takes a critical new look at the infamous 1997 alien interview tape. Jon has been absolutely relentless in pursuing the truth behind that footage for decades, pulling back the layers on one of the field's most enduring mysteries. So please welcome to the show, Mr. Jon Stewart.
Joe, thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and hello to all your viewers and listeners. I hope this will be worth their while. And I've been doing podcasts for like 5 years now, so I'm getting pithy. People are like, this guy talks so much he could talk the hind legs off a mule. But so I'm gonna try and, but that always, I'm not getting off subject here. See, here I go, I'm on a tangent, which always, I've had people write in the chat log comments, God, this guy talks a lot. What do you want me to do? Look at the interviewer? But yeah, I'm going to try and be very brief and pithy and make it interesting as possible and not troll on. So, and thank you for having me, and thank you for that very kind introduction. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Jon. We are absolutely happy to have you. And I've watched your podcast. I think you're just one of the most interesting guests for people to have on podcasts. Your years of being in this community and just being a top-level researcher, and the way you your research is relentless, but also the way you tell the story. You're very entertaining. You're very good at telling a story. And when those two things combine, it just makes for a very riveting interview. So we are excited to have you on the show, and thank you for making the time to come on.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it benefits the fact that I grew up in a very colorful, city of Chicago in the 70s and 80s, surrounded by low-level mobsters, blue-collar Chicago cops and firemen who are also my coaches for all of my sports, car dealers, seriously, politicians of every ilk. And I think that has given me a personality trait of good storyteller. So yeah, I'm honored that you actually mentioned that. I hopefully that will translate somewhere down the road to good results.
I'm sure, and I think being around that array of people, it is good to, everybody you meet along the way and all the experiences you have along the way kind of bleeds into who you are as a person. So being around, like you said, the mobsters and the cops and all these different array of people, it makes for a well-rounded human being.
Yeah, I've actually, and Joe, I hold to a tenet in politics: try not to speak ill of your opponents or the people in your party. And I really try not to. Sometimes I'm not very successful at that, but I find it maddening and stupefying that in the past 5, 6, 7 years, podcasters and skeptics and trolls have discounted the fact that growing up for 19, 20 years amongst, the Chicago, this, that, these, and those cops and, mobsters and car dealers and crooked politicians, and that hasn't given me, hasn't made my sense of BS and my sense of emotional intelligence at the level of like a CIA, CIA counterintelligence operative, where I'm ferreting out moles in the agency, and I joke about that, but it befuddles me. I didn't grow up in the trophy participation generation in a vanilla suburb in North Carolina in the 80s. And I mean that sincerely. I grew up in a little bit of a gritty middle class area, and in that environment that I was in, and then jumping into the world of pro wrestlers and con artists and psychopaths and guys that should have been in jail, to be honest with you, to start in that arena, no pun intended, at 19, maybe I am really well adapted at going after and interviewing people that can tell me something about the government's involvement with extraterrestrials. So yeah, I am glad we touched on that in the beginning. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I figured we'd start off by talking about the latest government releases of UFO material. And I kind of figured I just wanted to get your thoughts on what was released and just what are your thoughts on them?
I don't think, unfortunately, you are going to see the Jon Stewart alien interview type video released by the government, unfortunately. Do I hope and do I pray every night that we get a 4K 16 millimeter film from the 70s of a craft coming down in an Air Force base in the West and beings coming out, and it's so non-CGI, and we see interaction with government personnel. Oh my God, that would just be great. It would cause an ontological shock, I think, to the public. I know it would, but that would really be the capstone of UAP, of this UAP disclosure. I predicted this, and what has been happening for the first week has been what I predicted, without patting myself on the back, which is, more lights in the sky and more blobs and more, what is this? And we had one star UFO with a parachute that deployed him above it. So I'm hoping that gets better. I'm hearing anecdotal stories of a B-52. A UFO comes very close to the cockpit. You can see inside the cockpit of non-human intelligence, biological beings. That would be a page turner. That would be something that would definitely define the government's knowledge of UAPs and aliens. And so I am hopeful. And I don't want to be bitter old, UFO luminary, but I'm not going to be overly confident. What I said, I will finish here. What I said on Fox News Chicago, I still hold to it, which is I think the bombshell release is going to be from a Mike Herrera, a Jason Sands, a Rick Doty, a new whistleblower, somebody that has the goods, has the film in a storage locker, in their closet, in their desk drawer. They can now say, wait a minute, the president has said release everything. I've got this. I'm going to release it. And I think that is what you're going to, that is what is going to be the bombshell. And I've heard, again, an anecdotal story, pure conjecture, but I have heard that someone has knowledge of something like that being released this week, potentially. So I'm excited, but I'm not hopeful.
Well, there's a couple things there that are pretty exciting. There's two things I want to touch on that you just said. One, if we can go back, can we go over that B-50? I have not heard that one.
Yes.
That sounds pretty incredible.
Yes, there are a couple of journalists, a couple of UFO researchers who have emailed me. I actually saw this in a post by um, somebody in the know that actually posted it, which was supposedly, and again, I don't want to be that definitive UFO researcher with egg on my face, but again, supposedly, allegedly, there will be a video from a cockpit of a B-52 showing a UFO coming very close to the cockpit and showing clearly an alien sitting inside the UFO. Now, remember, Bob Lazar has stated this. Many abductees have stated this, that once you are inside the craft, some of the bulkhead, can't believe I thought of that word. Wow. Pro wrestling brain hasn't totally taken over. Part of the bulkhead many times is either 200 yards in front of you in a 30-foot craft, diameter craft, or you can see the stars or the landscape of outside directly through the bulkhead of a UFO once you're inside that. And that bulkhead seems to be clear, where you can see an alien clearly in the video, much like that 2008 video, which I think is the bombshell in UFO videos, which is where you see the two gray aliens that look a lot like my gray alien in my video, literally sitting there, shown in the open portion of the craft side of the craft, and that was from 2008 in Turkey. So that would be a game changer, no doubt, because Jon Stewart can show the video. In the New York Times, Ralph Blumenthal and Leslie Keane both told me this at lunch. I'm not name dropping. I'm just giving a little gravitas and weight to what I'm about to say. Jon Stewart can show this creepy video. We have all the answers and the provenance of it. We can see that alien in a craft in Turkey in 2008. But until a government military officer, a person, somebody like Secretary Marco Rubio, somebody from the government who's currently employed by the government, until they say, here we go, folks, here's what we are going to release, it's doesn't hold much weight, sadly to say. So the government releasing that B-52 video would be a game changer.
Yeah, that would be incredible. And going back to what you're saying, as far as the government releasing footage, that would be the only way people would believe it. And it's true. It's just sad disclosure is coming out at a time where in society in general as a whole, two people could be looking at the blue sky. One could say it's blue, one could say it's orange, and you're both equally right.
Right.
And then you could just argue until the end of time. So I think you made a good point on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, a sitting government official at a press conference plays a video, you know, I think we're going to be arguing with each other for a while. But if a video like that B-52 does come out, that would be pretty hard to argue with. So I'm hopeful that we do get to see that.
Yeah, and I hope people don't roll their eyes at this. I know this for a fact that podcasts are monitored by very low-level, entry-level CIA employees. It's part of the hazing routine if the CIA was a fraternity. So I will say this without a doubt to anyone listening, or that it might be shared with, that the President of the United States has authorized release of any and all UFO, non-human intelligence, UAP videos. If anyone out there that has anything that would be a complete game changer, I am encouraging you to release it. You will not be prosecuted. For the president has gone on public airways and said, it's okay to release this information. We're going to release the information. So please, somebody out there, I beg of you to have the courage to release it, shock the world, and let's move on with life, right?
Ross Coulthard, I'm looking at you on that one.
Yeah.
Also, there's something you said, too, when you were talking about the government releasing files. And there's something that popped into my head this week about the reason why they may be finally coming out and releasing stuff. And I don't know. I doubt this is true, but it's something that popped in my head. And I wonder if a journalist or somebody out there does have a definitive piece of evidence that can really maybe hurt national security or bring on full disclosure that can cause a panic. So maybe the government came to an agreement with somebody out there saying, don't release it all at once. We will come clean. Just give us a little time. Have you heard anything like that, or am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy, but I've heard kind of the opposite to some degree. It's a pie chart, to be honest with you. And I say that as a man who ran for president. I'm not patting myself on the back, but I ran for president of the United States in the Libertarian primary caucus in Iowa and came in second. So I know people. That's not name dropping. I'm in the know in Washington. I've got 11 counterintelligence, intelligence, private contractors who've been advising me, and other people that have told me that, look, this is the pie chart, and the pie chart is it's part to draw our attention away from the Epstein global, worldwide pedophilia crime syndicate. Part of it is the fact that the government feel that there is a high possibility of beings coming back in 2027. There were whistleblowers back in 1996. Victor, my whistleblower from the Alien Interview, was one of them, who said, don't plan on a 20-year documentary anniversary. We might not be here. Also, part of it is some sort of event concerning the sun, bathing the earth with some sort of extinction level event of cosmic rays. And lastly, yes, President Trump wanting a legacy. And we've got a guy that doesn't care about this. I know that's hard to believe in our community, but President Trump does not give a rat's ass, quoting my mother, about this phenomenon. So for him to release it, he just doesn't care. And if you don't care about it, you really don't think it's going to cause that much of a shock. And I think he's been told privately that we have it, but we're not going to show the 16 millimeter film of the craft coming down in the 70s in an Air Force base. So I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But as far as that pie chart is concerned, I think that is what I think that is what is completely going on to a high percentage of probability, and that doesn't exclude what you said. I think some of the information from telepaths, abductees, military people that have been in the legacy program for the past 30, 40 years, the beings they're fed up. They want disclosure. They think it's time for disclosure, and it's the pie chart. I think that's why you're seeing what you're seeing, and congressmen with the temerity and moxie that we need, and understanding that the constituents want disclosure.
Yep. Well said. There's congressmen hard at work, like Representative Luna, Representative Burchett, Representative Burleson, Representative Moskowitz, and more. And it's one of the only issues in the entire Congress that is pretty much bipartisan, which is phenomenal to see.
Yeah.
Because we need to work together on what probably is the biggest issue in the history of humanity. And if disclosure comes out, proof that there's life out there, there's no doubt about it. It is the biggest issue in the history of humanity. So,
yeah, absolutely. It's there was a politician that we joked with. I said the only time we have a bipartisan unanimous vote is when we're naming a post office, after some astronaut or civil rights activist, and it's that's sad, to be honest with you. That's the only time we can get unanimous bipartisan support, but it is what it is.
Yep, I totally agree. Hopefully we get better with that, but I'm not gonna hold my breath.
Right? No.
So let's actually, I want to go back. Let's talk about 2027. the supposed, like you mentioned, solar flares. I actually wrote an article that I posted on my website, www.thecontactreport.com, just last night about 2027. And
you got to do the bell sound effect for the plug.
Exactly.
Ding!
I'm not technologically competent enough to multitask like that. I need a Jamie from the Joe Rogan show.
Right. I'm famous on X and on YouTube for being like a complete nitwit as far as technology. So yeah, I'm if you're not the front of the line, I am.
So in that article, I basically talked about Lou Elizondo and all the other people who have made reference to something major happening in 2027. I've also had people, sources that I talked to behind the scenes, tell me privately that they have heard the same thing, that it's serious, that it's not a joke, that something very possibly could happen in 2027. They've said a solar event, like you mentioned, or the arrival of NHI. Or, as I've been told by multiple people, both. That's going to coincide with each other. Now, I'm not predicting any kind of day. In all probability, there's been 100 deadlines before where something was going to happen.
Absolutely.
But in all those other ones, I've never paid it much more than a second thought. But in this one, it's something that's telling me maybe there is something to this, because this is not some Heaven's Gate cult saying this stuff. We're saying, former intelligence officials, former people who hold pretty decent level positions within the government saying this. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on 2027?
I want to be very careful the way I answer this, because people are going to jump on the keyboard. I have been asked, just asked by two of my advisors, helpers, people that have been telling me, information, to not talk about the possible ability of the government to see into the future or divergent timelines, so I won't. I am simply going to state what I have been told and what I have witnessed. We have Victor in 1996, way before 2027 ever appeared, by about 30 years, saying the deluge of the solar. He was speaking French. The earth being bathed by cosmic rays. Then, so that's in the back of my mind. Listen carefully to me, folks. That's in the back of my mind. That was 1996. A man from S4 warning us about a future solar event. And I interview a widow whose husband allegedly was a telepathic interviewee down at S4 with Beans. For a half hour of our 3-hour interview, she talked about her husband being obsessed with earthquakes, geologic events, magnetic reversals, but most of all, solar flares. And so I put that on the shelf of my brain. Now, we see the magnetic north is what? And I could be wrong, 20 miles off its original position 100 years ago. It's 20 miles towards Siberia. They're redesignating a runway at the Tampa International Airport because it no longer lines up with magnetic, 27 left. And I'm pulling that out of the air. Now I have a DARPA-related scientist who emails me out of the blue and says, look, I worked alongside DARPA scientists. What I saw, what I heard, what I read in memos, what I heard being discussed, what I saw being implemented was weaponry for an offensive and a defensive planetary invasion. Okay. Do you want to walk that back of invasion? You want me to go to the public on the internet with invasion? They think I'm crazy as it is. And he's like, I'm not walking back that word, invasion. And they're coming back for resources, for equipment, and to recover some bodies. That was plainly said. And they don't care what we think, how would we will react to this. They're on their way. Okay. and he wrote me essays about it, and I vetted him. He's become actually a good friend of mine, lives in the Arizona area. He's just not walking it back. This is a master's degree, and probably after 30 years of electrical engineering, probably doctorate level mastery of electrical engineering. He had a system on the space shuttle. This is not some kook in his garage. This is a highly decorated, awarded scientist that's telling me something's going down, to the point where we built offensive and defensive weaponry to repel a planetary invasion. And so I am now you read, my God, your article, go on Google, of all of the solar maximums, solar minimums, the huge sunspots that formed, the crack in the sun, a temporary crack in the sun. And I'm sorry, I'm just a blue collar guy with an average intelligence. But when highly decorated, and I say that again, but PhD level scientists look in the camera or tell a reporter, I can't explain why that happened. That makes me concerned. I'm an automobile dealer for 40 years. I can tell you why a Corolla is a Corolla. And I'm just speaking in, layman's terms. When an astrophysicist can't tell me why something is happening with the sun, that scares the crap out of me, quite frankly. And I don't think I'm alone in my summation of why I should be worried. And there have been other people in S4, Stan Deo, a famed ufologist who I thought was Victor at one point. What's all over Stan Deo's website? The sun bathing the earth in cosmic rays. Stan Deo says, I was in reverse propulsion for the government, reverse engineering, non-human intelligence crap. I am simply saying, why do most of the people coming forward that have communicated with extraterrestrials, allegedly, have these absolutely jaw-dropping, scarier than anything stories of the sun bathing the earth with cosmic rays, causing an extinction level event? So that people 30 years later, Stan Deo, for being one of them, is still talking about it. So what was being said? What was being communicated from the beings to our telepaths, to our military generals and private contractors? What was being said? I think the only one conclusion that you can come to was something's going to happen with the sun and our planet, and it ain't good. And I will close with this is that you have billionaires going underground. They're not leaving the planet. They're going in underground bunkers. You have Kathy Fitz, this Barbara Bush, 65-year-old salt of the earth accountant of the government, of the Bush administration, saying we've spent maybe 20 trillion on 165 underground military bases. She looks like a senator with her little scarf on. I mean, this is not a hyperbolic woman looking for glory. What the hell is going on, folks? And I beg people on X, on YouTube, without showing my hand or upsetting people that are advising me, you better pay attention to the sun and to planet Earth. That's all I'll say. And I'm not scaring anyone. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm telling you this on 30 years of information and grown adults being very, very alarmed and worried.
Yeah, well said, John. And that's in my article as well. I listed all the billionaires that have suddenly started this huge influx of building underground bunkers.
Yep.
Is mind-blowing, and it just happened in the last few years. Lou Elizondo as well built a bunker on his property in Wyoming that he purchased.
Lou Elizondo, who was with the government in the Air Force, and allegedly, and I believe him, Lou, I believe you, and knew a hell of a lot more about the extraterrestrial phenomenon than Jon Stewart, built an underground bunker. You've got
Bingo.
you've got people, and I don't know if you ever heard about this, but I verified it with my State Farm insurance agent and John Moore, who was in the ufology and the flooding happening topic 15 years ago. That on masse, MASSE, of retired Navy personnel moving to the Ozarks because they have had it ingrained in their head by upper echelon military officers that some sort of coastal flooding is going to take place. Is that because the solar caps are going to melt and is some sort of a Younger Dryas event? Can't believe I pulled that one out of my hat. Where you have a pulse water 2 type meltdown. I'm really impressing myself. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry. But seriously, are we going to have a global meltdown that's very rapid? That's going to cause a very rapid degradation of our coastline due to flooding. I mean, all of these, you can't ignore all these stories. You can't ignore people in the government, PhD level scientists, and people that have allegedly communicated with aliens who are all telling the same damn story.
Yeah, well said. And let's not forget, when President Biden came into office, he just about got rid of everything President Trump had done before that. The one thing he didn't get rid of was Space Force.
Right.
Kind of says something to me a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. It sounds like I'm trying to be this insider guy. So let me say this to everyone. I am not the Johnny Insider of the CIA and the DIA. I am the burr under the saddle of intelligence, if anything. And I am not some deep insider guy. I am simply saying that we've got a scientist telling me and Victor telling people that something is coming from space, and years later, you have Space Force being created by President Trump. I mean, folks, come on. Without telegraphing it, the signs are all there. I mean, we're going to look back 20 years from now if we're still here and realize what, knuckleheads and nitwits we were, some of us, for not realizing what was really the proverbial metaphoric handwriting on the wall.
Yeah, well said. Let's talk about now, which very well may be related, the missing scientists.
Oh,
what do you make of this, what seems like an epidemic of scientists going missing or killed in the last few years?
I'm gonna take a couple of seconds. Just bear with me here. Okay. If in professional race car driving, in all the disciplines, Baja racing, off-road, 24 hours of Daytona, NASCAR, Indy, F1, if 14, 15 people in the racing industry died of some suicides and maybe some violent occurrences, some guy in his trunk, I would raise an eyebrow. I wouldn't call it a conspiracy. It would be alarming. Now, this is a guy from the pro wrestling industry where 74 men and women that I traveled with, shared hotel rooms with, wrestled, cried with, held their children for their first birthday are dead. So you're talking to an expert of dead coworkers, 74 to be exact. And I don't say that lightly. Look, folks, please listen to your Uncle John. Some of these deaths are years apart. One of them was a custodian of weaponry at a facility. 5 relatives, 5 of these people who were disappeared or murdered, told the press, my God, he had mental issues, he had mental health issues. Please, there's no kind of UFO related, alien related to this. David Wilcox, the sheriff, was on the phone with 911. Folks, will you listen to me? Watching David Wilcox on the side of his house begging David to drop the weapon as David put it to his side of his head and pulled the trigger and committed suicide. There wasn't a CIA officer next to the sheriff. Amy Eskridge, her father, telling everyone she had mental health issues. God bless her. Really, that she did take her own life. We need it is. This was this was This was built by the UFO community. This was packaged by the New York Post, and it was accelerated by Joe Rogan. I'm sorry. However, Monica Reza and General William McCaslin, and I'm going to tell you what I know about McCaslin, and it's going to scare people, but I'm here to tell the truth. Monica Reza, her hiking partner, a male friend of hers, said this woman disappeared in front of him, 30 feet in front of him. Do with that as you will. And a 20-day search, nothing ever came of it. General McCaslin. I'm going to go straight to the crux of it. Look, he left his house without any searchable devices, meaning iPhone, iPads. He left his wallet. This was a man who was intelligent enough to know that either he was ordered not to be tracked or he did not want to be tracked. He took a weapon, a revolver. Now, he could have went to a very secluded area that he knew of, living in the desert, and unalived himself. Very possible. If that was true, I think his wife would be way more upset than she is. She shot intelligence operatives in the government with their kind of laissez-faire, almost calm demeanor interview she had with the Albuquerque TV station. She doesn't think that it involved aliens. So let me get to what I was told, and you can pretty much write this in stone. Every single person, whether a private contractor, a military officer, anyone tangentially related to high technology revolving around propulsion, off-planet craft, and that technology, that anything that encompasses with off-planet, non-human intelligent craft is monitored, and they are monitored for life. Period. Put that in stone, and that is a fact. And the simple fact is, what I have been told by a few military people who just calmly and basically said the same thing. John, he was monitored. He was talking too much. He was saying too much. He was meeting with the wrong people. They felt it went too far, and he was, listen to my word track. I'd love to have Lou Elizondo comment on this. He was called in. Remember what your Uncle John is telling you. He was called in. And when you're called in by people inside the legacy program, it's don't take anything with you. You're not going to be harmed. But he would know, being the gatekeeper of the legacy program. General McCaslin was under probably Dick Cheney as far as the gatekeeper of the legacy program for over 20 years. This man knew what was going to happen when you are called in. I think he took a weapon. I think he told his wife, who probably also knew. She knew it was being called in. Took a weapon. If it went bad, if he was being called in, but they decided to do a wet works, and I hate saying that because it's so James Bond and Tom Clancy. If they were going to unalive him, he could extricate himself from that situation. And I know this is really heavy, and I'm sorry, but I have been told that he was debriefed, and he was given a new identity, a new assumed name. He is already somewhere else, living a life as a witness protection for all intensive purposes. You'll never see him again, but his wife will. His wife knows what has happened to him, which is why she's not crying her ears out. They have not had a funeral for him Folks, there is no other answer to why the wife's behavior is what it is. And if he unalived himself, she would have been a lot more concerned and a lot more distraught, and she's not. And I think the wife is key. But the military intelligence sources that just told me the same thing. Johnny was called in. He was called in because he was monitored, and he's he wasn't probably unalived, but he's living under an assumed name. It probably happened that quick. Called in on February 27th. That's a long time. They knew everything he said, everything he emailed, and hey, look, let me back this up. Major Thomas Mack, nicknamed Fishface, who was the program director for Project Aquarius, who was part of the U.S. Air Force Scientific Advisory Committee. Listen to me, folks. He was the William McCaslin from 74 to around 95. Knew Doty, knew Dan Burris, the biologist, knew of Bob Lazar, knew of Victor. He wrote an email when he retired in 1999. Project Aquarius is real. I have information that could embarrass the government as far as our knowledge of extraterrestrials and the extraterrestrial phenomenon. And 4 months later, died of a massive cerebral hemorrhage. Now, do you want to draw a conclusion, or do you want to think that I have been told a bunch of malarkey that these people are monitored? They're monitored, and he was called in. Take that to the bank. If the wife was different, I'd have a different tune. I wouldn't believe the military intelligence people that have been, who simply told me a very matter-of-fact story. William McCaslin is living under an assumed name. You'll never see him again, and he was called in. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense to me. I've heard similar things, and so he basically disappeared off the face of the earth in about 53 minutes.
Yes. With over 70 cameras. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. Go ahead. He had 70 cameras or seven. I want to say 700, but that's implausible, I think. But I think 70 neighborhood convenience store, gas station cameras. This guy vanished like a whisper in the wind.
Couldn't agree more. And going over to Monica Jacinto Reza, she also disappeared in a very short amount of time. There was helicopters there. There was an army of searchers there in under an hour. So she disappeared off the face of the earth, just like the general did, in under an hour with no trace to be found other than the hat she was wearing. Come on,
I didn't even know that. Right.
Yeah, they found her hat. If you see that last picture, it was either a hat or a scarf, one or the other. I can't remember which one it was. But disappeared. They both disappeared in under an hour. They knew each other. The general basically funded her research for them both to disappear like that.
Folks,
come on.
Listen to Joe here. So, do you want the cliffhanger now? So, General McCaslin was overseeing the project for the aerospace company, funding Monica Reza. Monica was had developed a special metallic alloy where they did not need to buy the Russian rockets anymore. That the metallic alloy that she had developed would then be less weight, but strong enough to withhold these, temperatures reaching, over 7,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And who was her overseer for that project? General William McCaslin. Come on, this is the solar flare. I mean, what are we going to be that naive? I just, I'm sorry. You just can't ignore this. Again, I don't think there's anything with the scientists that are missing. But Reza and McCaslin, listen to your Uncle John, folks. It went down. It went down, and I pray for them. Yep.
Well said. I think we covered pretty much everything on that. I think the majority of the list of these 16 or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. One was a carjacking. Amy Eskridge, whatever happened there.
coworker,
Probably wasn't unaliving.
suicide, 3 heart attacks. There's somebody else was found in a car. He was found in a car 4 years ago. I mean, I'm just saying you can't compress the time. And believe me, I'm a pro wrestling promoter. I'm a car dealer and politician. I'm hyperbolic. I know how to be a provocateur. You compress data to make it fit into the box. I'm not going to allow that to happen here. You're not going to compress 5-6 years of deaths into 6 months. I'm not going to let it happen. Not on my watch. Not on my watch.
Well said. Well said, John. So we can't talk to you without talking about the SOM 101 manual.
Yeah.
For people unfamiliar with it that are watching, what exactly is it, and why has it become so controversial within the UFO community?
Yeah. I just, I don't mind getting personal and talking about my feelings, because I think that sets me apart from a lot of researchers, but it hurts my feelings. I know, pro wrestler, football guy, talking like I'm in a therapist chair, but it affects. I'm going to mention a name, and I shared research with him. I like him. I agree with him to a high extent, and his father, but it hurts my feelings, and it is offensive to me that people do not credit me when they talk about something, and I have shown clear evidence, clear data that is not only compelling, but almost irrefutable, that I have my team, the people on the internet. Dare I ever not say the internet was my co-pilot through my whole 7-year investigation? Internet, I love you. Thank you. I will take you to my grave as my angels. I mean that sincerely, every one of you, including the trolls and the skeptics. You made me a sharp spear. Thank you. But the internet helpers who literally proved the SOM. And the SOM is a document that was given to Linda Moulton Howe, I believe. I believe she was one of the first ones, which was the Special Operations Manual for the Recovery of Extraterrestrial Craft and Biological Beings. You can look at the face of the manual. It looks like a 1950s document you would see in a Roswell cache of documents. You can just, anybody worth their salt can say, oh my God, that printing it looks legit. It's got the metal clasping from the 50s where you fold over the metal. They still make them at Office Max. And in this manual, it is 40, 50 pages of here's what you do when you see a craft. Here's how you cover it. Here's where you take it. Here's where you take a body. Here's how you handle a body. Here's what to do if it's living. Here if it's intact. If it's just parts and mangled, here's what you do with it. And it lists places like S4, Wright Pat, as WP, the Blue Room. But, and I took this to a printer who started in the 60s in Chicago, who was in the military, in the Marines, in the print shop in the Marines, and became a printer. I showed it to him and I said, what is this? He goes, well, that's definitely from the military. He goes, what's the dimensions? And I got this from Ryan Wood. Him and his dad did a great job in breaking this down. Ryan Wood's dimensions. I won't give you the hatchet job. I give him the dimensions like, oh yeah, that's from the print shop at so-and-so. And I'm doing oh my God, that's what Ryan Wood said, or his dad. And he goes, that clasping we used, and he goes, that raised whatever font he said, that's the government print shop at the so on and so forth. And I said, there's a raised Z. And he went, oh, I know that. Yeah. That one print shop knew that. Exactly what Ryan Wood and his father said, that there is a raised Z, I could be hatcheting this, in the SOM manual that conclusively is from a distinct printing shop from the government, where it was known that type set had a raised Z. I mean, wonderful work by Ryan Wood and his father. And I mean that sincerely. Here's the catch. There's one facility where you took living, intact biological beings. Now, this manual was allegedly from 1954. The facility was OPNAC BBS-01. Now, everything was searchable. Blue Room, Right Pat, S4, except this facility. And everyone said, geez, why, if you were hoaxing this, would you put such an obscure facility that no one could ever figure out what it would be and really prove it, or, kind of disprove it, right? Okay. So for 50, 60 years, nobody knew what OPNAC BBS stood for. The facility to take live extraterrestrial beings. I get an email. Here we go. Mr. Stewart, my name is Andriano Andromani. I always hatchet his name. I'm from Italy. I think I know what BBS is. Okay. He goes, did you ever hear of the Bermuda Biological Station? No. You need to look it up. Bermuda? But he goes, it's an offshore facility. I went, offshore, alien, you might think it's a contaminant, offshore, the continental. Now the wheels are turning. I go on the internet with this. I get just before Thanksgiving 2023. Hi, Mr. Stewart, I'm so-and-so. I can't release his name. I'm a university student in Florida. I think you're onto something, but I can finish the mystery. I know what OPNAC is. I'm a oceanography student in Florida. OPNAC is the oceanic platform for the North Atlantic and the Caribbean. It is an offshore platform, and next to it is the Bermuda Biological Station, now called a different name, run by the University of Arizona. Wait a minute. Now, my head is going, like, we solved it. Oh, an offshore platform where you would take biological beings from 54 to 62, because in 63, what was developed, they started to build the underground S2. It's not S4, the underground S2 annex at south of Area 51 in 1963, and we have the FOIA. Wait a minute. So I start researching the Bermuda Biological Station. Are you folks ready for this? It was funded by a millionaire back in the 50s named Dr. Arthur Sherlock, who, what did he do? He helped research, reverse propulsion in coordination with the United States Navy. So here is a guy, Elon Musk, helping the Navy doing reverse propulsion or propulsion for the United States Navy, obviously hearing and listening to these beings being interviewed at Los Alamos, because that's where we believe where the majority of the interviews took place. They need a new facility. He funds this offshore platform, and in that freaking SOM manual is OPNAC BBS, the facility where to take living biological beings. Now, Ryan Wood says BBS is a facility in Virginia. I had intelligence people screaming at me, a little upset at Ryan Wood for not believing me in a very structured, I know the guy that built the facility. He was in reverse propulsion for the United States Navy. I mean, how many times do we hear the Navy involved in extraterrestrial phenomenon? And that's what it is, folks. And it hurt my feelings a little bit that Ryan Wood is not even mentioning that, Jon Stewart makes one hell of a case for this OPNAC facility. And I must have been on bad paper with Linda Moulton Howe. She doesn't return my phone call that I've proven her manual. Do I have this bad of an aggro personality where colleagues can't even, acknowledge that? And I didn't prove it. A university student and somebody from Italy proved it for me. But we have an offshore platform built by Elon Musk in the 50s, who helped the Navy doing exotic propulsion, and they built an offshore platform for biological beings. Come on. you know. So I am really, really proud that I spearheaded that, and I got the people to come forward after putting it out to a call to help me figure out what it was, and we proved it. I'm sorry, we proved it. UpNeck BBS, that manual is real, the printing's real, the dimensions are real, the typing in the offset Z is real, and the facility is real, and the facility is still there currently under a different name, run by the University of Arizona, which sometime in the future, I'll talk about the bizarreness of Lower Michigan and Phoenix, Arizona, in regards to the legacy program. We don't have to, I don't want to discuss it today, but remember what your Uncle John is telling you. So, yeah, we have proven that manual. And you would think that would be talked about forever in the UFO community. Like, Jon Stewart got two people to come forward, and my God, how could you deny this? An offshore platform so the continental United States wouldn't get contaminated with any unknown extraterrestrial biological contaminant, if that is a thing. And it was built by a bizarre Elon Musk guy in helping the Navy with propulsion. I mean, my God, what what else do you need to fit for all the puzzle pieces in place? So I don't knock Ryan Wood, but it bothered me a little bit that he came on your program and didn't even mention what I had told him and shared with him. But that's water under the bridge.
I really wish I had known this when I interviewed him, because I think it would be rude. Has anybody ever asked him about it? Do you know?
No, it's like I don't want to sound like a crybaby, and I'm 59 years old, so I'm not. But no,
it's really
you would just
it makes sense.
You would think, isn't nobody has emailed Linda Moulton Howe, who was like my mother. She was my mentor. She was like, you got to slow down. You're too loud. You're like a fire hose. People think you're nuts. I am nuts. I mean, we know that, but I'm just saying. And she just cut me off. But do you think anybody would email her, Mrs. Howe? Do you know that crazy Jon Stewart? He got two people. He proved your manual, not mine. Linda Howe's manual. I mean, God, I'm not taking credit for it. I'm taking credit for lighting the fire and having these two people come forward. And you know what bothers me? And it's going to sound like I'm crying a sob story. This university kid couldn't go to his parents' house on Thanksgiving 4 days after he told me that info and say, Mom, Dad, I basically helped prove one of the biggest stories in the entire world and prove that pretty much the government has knowledge of extraterrestrials and retained and housed them at a facility off of the shores of Bermuda. And I was the linchpin in proving that, because he was so terrified of being unalived. And that was his wording. This university kid that will go down in history unknown, was terrified what the government might do if I spoke of his name. That is heart-wrenching that he couldn't have told his parents, and he said he wasn't, for fear of reprisal. I mean, what are we doing here? We got a guy that's not going to credit my people. We got a young kid that's terrified of being whacked by the government for knowing an off-site facility. What the F is going on, folks? Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm sorry. And we got people that if Jon Stewart, God damn it, if Jon Stewart proves something, we don't want to, he doesn't exist. He's not real. Jon Stewart's not real.
So Ryan Wood, basically, Linda Moulton Howe, Ryan Wood, when you kind of came forward and said, I might have figured this out, did you ever hear any kind of reaction from them? Did they ever reach out to you or anything like that?
I sent my entire paper notes from the two people that helped me on the internet about the OpNeck BBS, which I think anyone listening to me, an offshore platform funded by a Elon Musk type scientist who's helping the Navy in propulsion. I mean, I sent it to Linda, and I don't know if I'm on bad paper with her, or she's mad at me, or I would have thought that would have been one of the highlights of her life, knowing that she's on the fourth quarter, she's on the last season of her time here on this planet. And Ryan Wood did get back to me, and he's like, no, it's the facility in Virginia. And I mean, he's very cordial, very gentleman. I love him. Nice guy. Him and his father did great work. I just really strongly disagree with that. It's a facility in Virginia, which makes no sense. I mean, it's, we don't know what these beings were still back then, and to have an offshore platform to have a barrier with the continental United States makes sense. Built and funded by a crazy, not a crazy, but a very eccentric scientist, worked with the Navy with propulsion. I mean, I just thought Ryan would have went, oh, okay, we got it wrong. But and the fact that, again, it's just, we did the same thing with the Wilson Davis memo. There were two obscure generals in the Wilson Davis menu.
For people who are watching who don't know what it is, I want if you could just explain what the Davis-Wilson memo is and what the significance of it is.
Found in someone's archives was a memo typed up from the notes of Dr. Eric Davis, who was a physicist working in conjunction with the United States government and private aerospace. And he claims definitely now to have information and contact and with non-human intelligence, with craft and the technology, and helping to do reverse engineering on the craft. And it was a notes between him and a Admiral Tom Wilson, and they were talking. Basically, the notes picked up with them in the car of a parking lot, I believe, at a private aerospace company, and they were basically talking like two colleagues about the extraterrestrial phenomenon and craft and whatnot, and this leaked, and him and Wilson. Admiral Wilson and Eric Davis both denied it, but it was very detailed. It had all the coding and nomenclature and wording of a scientific conversation between two colleagues, and in those notes was mentioned two obscure military officers. And again, nobody tries to follow up with it. Well, I did. And lo and behold, another internet angel, Mr. Stewart, I've got some information for you. We found the two names of the military officers in the Wilson Davis memo. Now, it wasn't on a website, or it wasn't on a something that someone created where it could be hoaxed. They found it on the government's internal BBS, their bulletin board system, the early precursor to the internet, but run by the government. And they found these two names on this bulletin board system, talking about one of them getting an honor, or in another one, as far as this program is concerned, innocuous information, but mentioning these two men, that they were verified people, officers in the government, which I would think, if you've got a memo of two random, this is just like my alien interview, where we've got names of military intelligence people that, as Linda House said, no one's ever heard of, which is gold in the UFO community that always has retreads of names. So here are two names. They're not retreads, found on an innocuous, mundane bulletin board of the United States government. You would have thought that, that this would have, just absolutely caused stir in the UFO community. Jon Stewart. Tagged along with Jon Stewart. Can't give him credit. I don't understand
it.
And people, friends of mine like Casper Site, Ben, and even and others are like, no, people don't hate you. And I don't know if they hate me, but they sure don't want to see me win. That I can guarantee. And when you have people like Corbell Knapp, I am not stirring the hornet's nest. Corbell, Knapp, Lou Elizondo, not even mentioning the heroic work of other people on the internet who have helped me with the alien interview, just with the names in the facility and the FOIAs, or the Wilson Davis memo, or the Psalm recovery manual. I mean, we are talking and debating blobs in mysterious lights in mylar balloons, yet here is definitive information that is that is mundane and random, and it doesn't cause a stir. And I can only say that it's because some people in the community do not want to see Jon Stewart win. And Chris Ramsey of Area 52 kind of emphatically says you got an aggro personality. And I looked that up on ChatGPT. In ChatGPT, by the way, if you want any psychological information like, why does my father like to build a fire? Why do neighbors watch my dad build things in the garage, like evolutionary biology, sociological information? ChatGPT is great. ChatGPT said that, I wish I had the notes, that I'm this gregarious person that pushes people back. Chris Ramsey says the same thing. People don't expect this. And there is a psychological barrier to like, oh fuck, he wrestled on ESPN, he had this crazy baller life, played football, ran for governor, and now he's winning at the UFO world. F him. And I don't see that. I see that as collaboration. And when you have somebody like me that constantly champions the internet, that constantly says, I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, I'm a nitwit, I'm forgetful, but the internet was my co-pilot. Thank you, internet. Thank you, internet angels. That is not a guy putting himself on top of the party cake. That is a guy that is saying, hey, come on top of the mountain with me. We did this together. And I don't see any other freaking researcher saying that. To any degree. Richard Dolan, Chris Ramsey, they do give credit where credit's due. I love that about those two men. But those are few and far between. So we're going to lose the cachet of the Wilson Davis memo and the Psalm manual because you don't like the guy that was spearheading that investigation. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Let me just say, I saw your documentary. So when I first discovered you was a little before the documentary came out, Hunting Victor, which was phenomenal. And I watched it. It's super interesting, everything. But, just like we're talking about today, all this information I heard. And I could not for the life of me, up until today, not understand why it's not bigger news. Or like, this seems major stuff, so I don't know why.
Thank you for saying that. Right. I didn't come up with...
There's got to be something I'm missing here, but it doesn't look like there is.
Joe, I love you, bro. I am so glad I went on. I came on here because thank you for at least helping me not think I am totally self-conscious or, thinking like people are against me. I didn't bring the CIA guy that ran the UFO program for the CIA, Spartacus, his name, Henry Zeke, was DIA running the legacy program. I didn't come up with that. That was given to me before I went on Matthew Cox's show in Tampa. I don't want to tell people how I got it because it's Da Vinci Code, James Bond-esque, but nonetheless, I didn't do that. I was given it. I was given the names of the men. Maybe they weren't in that room of that alien, but those men, I can pretty much guarantee you, were part of the legacy program in the 1990s. I didn't go out and find those names. They were given to me because somebody liked my personality and saw me on the podcast and wanted to help me out. And the same thing with the Wilson Davis manual. I come out here as the Pied Piper, humble, try to be humble, asking for help, telling people I'm the Mr. Magoo of the UFO world. Do you got anything to help me? And it's worked. And it's worked. Why are you not giving credit to that? We've got men who live in old houses we've never heard of. We've got the proof of the Wilson Davis memo. We've got proof, lock, stock, and barrel, of the Psalm manual, of the legacy program, the CIA running the program, the FOIA, where the S2 Alpha, the alien retention facility underground, the FOIA for when it was built. I emailed the DIA director that was in that leaked memo to me, who ghosted me before we were going to go play golf and have fried chicken in Virginia. I mean, I talked to the widow of the doctor on the alien's right shoulder. That's my husband. Here's his name. He was an Army doctor. That matches up, which is on my memo. I'm stupefied. It's just, I am absolutely. And then we find out Victor is alive, the true Victor, not Bill Moore, not Stan Deyo, and he doesn't want to come forward anymore. That doesn't act like a hoaxer. A hoaxer, in $35,000 we offered. $35,000 in a respectful interview. I'm out. I don't want to do it after he reconsidered. The hoaxers don't do that. Hoaxers perpetuate the hoax. They hype it. Rays come out of the alien's eyes. And then the saucer. I was on the craft. That's what a hoaxer does. A hoaxer doesn't. There are people surrounding this alien interview, and I will finish here, that don't want to cross some imaginary line, including the CEO that owns the tape. Why are these people scared shitless? 30 years later, an alleged hoax video of a puppet? Why are these people 30 years later unwilling for $35,000 to simply come forward to tell us what the provenance of that video is, real or not real, government hoax or government authentic alien? There is like this imaginary line that the people surrounding the alien interview refuse to cross. Why are you refusing to cross this line on a freaking hoaxed video? I'm not saying it's real. I am asking why an 80-year-old man, Victor, who's still alive, is refusing to come forward and give us his face and tell us his real live birth name. Why? It's a hoax video. I thought he was an actor from Central Casting. Obviously not. Obviously not. So I will take the blame. I've got an aggravating personality. I sound like Joe Pesci. I'm an Italian from Chicago. I've got to be with the mob. All the other things people have said about me. I'll take it. But I'm asking the people, don't discredit the internet people that helped me. I did not do this on my own. And my research partner that came aboard late, Brian Pemble, who came up with the money to try and convince Victor to come forward, don't throw him under the bus. That guy's an angel. The guy that helped me, the two guys that helped me with the Psalm manual and the Wilson Davis memo, don't step on their legacy. I'm asking people, forget about me. I didn't do anything. I'm not taking credit for anything. But don't step on these people's legacies. I'm begging you of that.
Yeah, and like you just said, John, if it was a hoax, I've never seen a hoax where in 35 years or however many years it's been, especially now with all the hoopla around the UFO community, if this guy come out now and say, hey, I was the actor, he could make himself who knows how many thousands doing the interview circuit.
We know $35,000 we offered Victor. $35,000. Brian Pemble of Tucson, Arizona offered Victor for a 1-hour interview. That's it. And when he said, I'm not going to do John's
name, but
no, but
this
here's
guy
what happened.
Admitted to being Victor?
No, sir. I'm not going to hype it like that. But he is without a doubt the guy sitting in the chair. Yes, he is Victor, according to the CEO. Okay. He is the guy in the chair in 1996. He said back in March, it's time to tell the whole story. Beautiful. Now we send him Jon Stewart's notes of what the docu-series would be on Netflix. And he went, no, like too theatrical. Okay. Brian Pemble comes back with, how do you want to do it? It's you tell us. That's it. And I think after a lot of the dead and missing scientists, believe it or not, Brian Pemble thinks this, he reconsidered and said, I'm not coming forward. You're an actor in your 80s and you're turning down $35,000 and you're going to tell the whole story, and the CEO who's still willing to tell us the whole story and the director knows more. What the fuck is going on with this video? And I'm not saying that for me and to hype my future documentary. What in the fuck is going on with this video? What? It's becoming spooky, and it's becoming a little concerning. And Bill Moore told me it's a carefully crafted hoax by the United States government, 80-year-old Bill Moore. And if I tell you the truth, you and I are going to swing from a rope. No. Wow. Me? Little Johnny Stewart? If I tell you the truth of the alien interview, a guy telling me that it's a hoax, not that it's real. Yeah, it's real. It's a carefully crafted hoax done by the government. And Jon Stewart, Bill Moore talking, if I tell you the truth, you and I will swing from the end of a rope. That is written to me in an email by an 80-year-old ufologist with nothing to win and nothing to lose. Let me tell you something. Whenever this documentary comes out, buckle the fuck up. Sorry for swearing. Buckle up.
Holy shit.
Because I think it's more bizarre that the government took my tax money and your tax money and is hoaxing a video of an alien. Maybe they wanted to desensitize us or get us acclimated. Okay. I have always championed the government. It's probably why I've stayed alive. I'm serious. I'm a guy that never thumbed my nose at the government. I understand the secrecy. I agree with the secrecy. I don't want to know how to make a nuclear bomb. I just want to know that we have one. Whoever came up with that line. And I've never thumbed my nose at the government, which is probably why I'm still alive. I champion them. I'm a proponent of them. I helped save the North Chicago VA without patting myself on the back. I love and honor the government and our military. But get ready. That's all I got to say. And I don't know what. But you've got grown 80, 85. I don't know. I mean,
we keep freezing up.
Yeah.
Do we have a time frame on when the new documentary?
I don't know, but it's just going to be a talking heads documentary of me sitting there at a table with a couple of other key people that were involved in this 7-year crazy journey. And we are going to, in very high tech photography. I know that Jon Stewart Hunting Victor was a glorified 90s podcast, but goddamn, I gave you more information and I gave you more names, numbers, codes than anyone in the history of ufology in an hour and a half. And I'm proud of that. But this is going to be the age of disclosure type, great camera shots. And I just got to say, buckle the frick up. Buckle up. I don't know what we're going to find out, what the true story is. But we're going to get it. It's not going to be from Victor. And it's going to be from Tom Coleman, the CEO. And buckle up. It's I never expected this. I just thought I'd go to Victor's house. He said he would either tell me he was a low-level government employee with EG&G, did audio-visual documentation, or they faked it. He was he had a PhD from UCLA, but he got into acting, or they used Bill Moore claims they used his answers to the questions, which is why you hear a weird clicking on the alien interview with the director, Jeff Broadstreet. Bill Moore claims they used his necktie and the answers to the questions. I don't know, possibly, but when we find out, buckle up. It's going to be the last episode of the documentary where people are like, what? And there's been another thing that Bill Moore and another person that has told us about who might have been involved. And people are going to be sitting home going, oh my God. And I did not intend for this. I just thought I'd find the truth of, just an authentic alien and let's move on. But this is getting to be soap opera, Greek tragedy, or it's going to get crazy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to it. In the last documentary, could people still see that, or where can they find it?
Yeah, I've got it on my X Space, and it's on Rumble for free. Don't want to be a grifter, so it's on Rumble for free.
Awesome.
Some poster named Kitty something. Yeah, go to Rumble. Um, the alien interview case closed. Simple. And you'll see the green storyboard of the Victor alien, and it's free, hour and a half long. And I'm sorry, you can put Lou, Jeremy Corbell, and UAP Gerb, and I respect all of them, and I'm not being aggro here. I'm just saying, no one has given. I gave you the code to enter the facility of the alien retention facility. I got the FOIA. I have the security clearance, Yankee White. We've got the FOIA, the satellite photo, the 5 men in the room, the provenance of these men, the one man that I emailed who ended up being a DIA director. We got the CIA name of the guy that ran the UFO program or was the liaison with the CIA. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I'm really proud of it. And I was determined because of my childhood from up until 5 years ago, where you'd watch documentaries and we'll show the Bigfoot body next time, or, we're getting close. The Oak Island, we're getting close. Right. And I said, I'm not doing a documentary until I have a definitive Victor. I was wrong. A definitive Victor. And I'm telling every single damn number, name, code, FOIA that I have. And I did. And I held my word. And I gave everybody a boatload in what is called a good but shitty production 90s podcast. So there you have it.
Yep. For everybody out there watching, if you have not seen it, I highly, highly recommend going to see it or going to Rumble to watch it. Like John just said, even though at the end, Victor wasn't who we thought it was,
no,
there is information in that documentary that will blow you away and send you on a rabbit hole of research.
Yeah.
Trying to read about this stuff. And it's just absolutely fascinating, and it's well worth the watch.
Right. And AI picked out Stan Deo as Victor when we matched them. I'm just like, it's not Stan Deo.
You had me convinced.
Oh, I know. The one FBI guy's like, he's in '08, Victor talked about the sun destroying the earth. Stan Deo has solar flares pictures, like 50 of them on his website. He's a dead ringer. Stan Deo said it's his doppelganger, but it's not Stan Deo. So, okay. I'm wrong. I was, whatever. I mean, part of being a crazy Italian from Chicago, I don't know, but at least I admit I was obviously wrong. But who knows?
Yeah, no, I relate. I'm an Italian from Pittston, Pennsylvania, so I get it.
We talk with our hands. How you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, what do you think? What's the state of the UFO community? You've been involved for a long time in this community. What do you make of what's going on today?
Although I might not agree with all of them, I think it's wonderful that Jeremy Corbell is getting all this press attention, and he's like our front man for the community. I think that's awesome. It's putting eyeballs on our community and on our beliefs and our desires to have full disclosure. And if it's in the media, it's going to get the attention of Congress, and it has. So I would just continually to ask people like Ross and Lou and Jeremy to push the envelope as much as possible. But they're all very eloquent speakers. And I'm just happy that they have the ears of Congress. Certainly I do not, even though I've been going to Congress since 23, handing my packet over. They have the ears of Congress, and that's great. And I will do anything I can to support Jeremy and Lou and Hal Putoff and all the podcasters. I've backed up my words. I will do that with money or help or media, you name it. So the media is aboard. It's great. It's a good thing. And we will see a lot of light at the end of this very, very dark tunnel that the world has walked through since the 30s. And daylight is coming. It might not, when we emerge from the tunnel, it might be into the apocalypse, Right. don't careful what you wish for. Careful what you wish for. But we are going to get disclosure to at least the fact that the government has known about extraterrestrials and their presence since the 30s, and what we might do together as a country or as the world moving forward and dealing with the extraterrestrial phenomenon. But I think who is heading the spear of ufology in the media, Ross and Jeremy and Lou, I'm well okay with that, and I wish them continued luck and success, and I think they're representing us very well. And I think if somebody from the outside sees a Ross or a Lou or a Jeremy on News Nation or CNN, we are well represented. I know people didn't expect me to say that, but I mean that sincerely.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and I agree. They come across well on camera. They're well spoken.
Yeah.
They're very media centric.
Yes.
And I have to say, I don't think we would be where we are in this community if it wasn't for Jeremy and George and Lou
No.
and I don't think we would have had congressional hearings. Everybody has pros, cons, things we don't like about certain people, whatever. But
Of course.
in the
Absolutely.
grand scheme of things, I think they're good people to be at the front of this fight for disclosure. And
Yeah, Joe-
like you said, John, I think we're in good hands.
Yeah, folks, listen to me. I'm telling you the truth. Stephen Greer and I coordinated Congressional Day. He had his press conference at the National Press Club the day he brought out Mike Herrera. This was, I think, 2023. That same day, I was at congressional offices handing out the Aquarius packet of the government's investigation of extraterrestrials, coordinated with Dr. Stephen Greer. Do you know what happened? Nothing. Yeah, Greer and I were frustrated. And if it took Knapp and Corbell and Lou and that's it, whatever. Great. Seriously, fantastic. Media eyeballs are upon us. That means Congress is with us, full steam ahead. But it couldn't happen without Jon Stewart. I couldn't do it. I tried. And when you got a pro wrestler and a former candidate for Illinois governor coming to congressional offices with a suit and tie on, and you've got an emergency room doctor that has briefed CIA directors and presidents with 700 witnesses in a 2 terabyte file, and those two guys don't get a blip in the media, you're in trouble. So thank God for Jeremy, Lou, Knapp, Ross. Thank God.
Yep. Let me go on the record and say that I think what you bring to the table and the information you've brought to the table needs to be taken very seriously by those people we were just talking about. I don't know why, for some crazy reason, it's just getting lost in the shuffle, it seems. But I do think a coordinated effort needs to follow those leads. I think we're really missing an opportunity to drive home the point of disclosure, because there's trails to follow here that can really make a difference. I don't know why it's not happening, but it needs to happen.
Well, especially with Lou, and I'm not being combative. Lou, I'm speaking, this is three of us having a beer. If he would have saw or somebody would have told him, do you know this Jon Stewart guy gave the security code for S2 out the S2 annex? He's got the names of intel people that no one's ever heard of in the 90s. He's got FOIA documents about the building, satellite photos. He's got the clearance level. He's got two guys that came forward that were requisition officers for this facility. I have inside baseball information, and how that did not spark Lou to maybe try and contact me or send a message to me, because we have mutual acquaintances. I'm not saying give me attention, please. I think people hear what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying when I was relating inside baseball terminology, improving the Department of Naval Intelligence exists. So says a CIA level, director level officer. I would have thought that would have piqued Lou's, like, okay, let me help this guy or something. And the fact that Lou has not come forward to at least say, hey, heard your investigation, you can I offer you anything? Or that worries me a little bit. When you're a former intelligence officer from the government, DOPS are approved, and you're going on TV, you're maybe not a whistleblower. You could be labeled a spokesperson, and I know that's been said before, but it's that hurt my feelings a little bit. Like, not hurt my feelings. I don't understand why Lou doesn't want to lend me 5 minutes of, don't say this, you're getting too close there, that was bullshit that somebody told you, stuff like that. Because I need all the help I can get. And certainly I could use the help of a Lou Elizondo, who was with, ATIP and AARO and was neck deep in this phenomenon. Whether it was his job or a hobby, he was read in, he was briefed, he's seen the documents. And the same goes for David Grush. I've been very cordial with David Grush through intermediaries, and my God, am I that bad of a person? You don't want to help me? I am, Joe, please believe me. Or tell me I'm full of shit so I can go away, so I can enjoy my life. I'm not lying to you. I don't care if this film is real or not. I am going to find the truth now because I'm on the game board. I ain't getting off. Do you think it would help my life if David Grush said, that was a hoax? These guys did it. Don't go too deep. It's a hoax. Oh, my God. I'd have been done with this 4 years ago. So that does offend me a little bit, hurt my feelings a little bit, and I don't mind saying that. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Like, fuck. Can guys like Lou and David that were inside baseballers in the UFO Legacy program, can you help me out? Tell me it's full of bullshit. Tell me it's not. I mean,
Right.
Jason Sands, 5 minutes into talking to Jason Sands, I think it's fake, but that's how the beans move, like bobblehead. Do you know what? Do you know how much that helped me? Like, start refining my trajectory of where I was going with the documentary. Asking people, not asking for illegal, top secret classified information. Tell me what you know. You're telling me Lou Elizondo doesn't know anything about the 1997 alien interview and S2 Alpha, the S2 Annex. Hard to believe. That's all. I'm just asking for people to help me end this. And I'll go away. I'm telling the UFO community, you will not see me again once I solve this. I'll still be on X and YouTube, and I'll get back into doing wrestling posts, or I'll do an advice column or something. I don't know. I'll make funny videos. But the UFO community,
Start
if
a
you
Dear
want to see
John column.
Yeah, right. No, I am. That's why I have the moniker Uncle John, because I've got a lot of advice that I've learned and picked up in 59 years. But if you want to see Jon Stewart gone, to never see me or hear my voice again, just help me solve the truth. I'm gone the next day. And I'm not lying to you. You'll never see me again. Help me figure out the truth. I don't think I'm asking a lot.
I agree. I hope we get there. I look forward to the new documentary. It sounds pretty revealing, and I think we need to, if there's anything I can ever do to help or anything like that, don't hesitate. I'm always happy to help, because I think you are onto something very significant here.
Thank you.
And I think everybody needs to be paying more attention to it.
This has been a great interview. When we got cut off, I told my wife, I'm like, oh my God, I'm having so much fun. You did a great job today, and I'm not being condescending. You asked great questions. This is therapy for me, these podcasts, and you play a significant piece of the puzzle of my therapy of getting through this mentally. And I appreciate you having me on, and I really enjoyed myself. And I hope your viewers enjoyed our conversation, and I hope I was useful and helpful and informative. And thank you for having me on.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Thank you for coming on. You're a fascinating guy. I've been a wrestling fan even for back since the I'm not so much now, but back when I was a little kid, to the territories, Mid-South and Memphis and all
That's
that
where I
good shit
started in
back then.
Memphis. Yeah.
Did you back with Jerry
Yeah,
the King
I caught the
Lawler?
tail end of the Jerry the King Longer was my first promoter and broke me into the business. And yeah, I caught the tail end of the territory days, which was like being a carnival worker inside of a
Yeah.
prison in a touring rock band. Honest to God, it was wow. And being 19, holy, yeah, it was. I learned a lot.
It must have been great. When you were saying her before about the 70 some wrestlers that have passed away, and that's no
74.
exaggeration. All my childhood all the people I loved as a kid, they're all gone. I think Bret Hart and Ric Flair are about some of the only ones left.
Yeah, it's funny.
But,
From 86, that 85, 86, it's Jeff Jarrett, myself, Jeff and Sting, and Johnny Ace. It's four guys, and Brett, Jeff and Sting, obviously way more successful than I was, but for a number of reasons. But yeah, four guys left from that tail end of 85, 86. That's scary. It was like being a race car driver. I feel like now at 59 that I was a race car driver in the 50s and 60s when the speed became out of control and the safety equipment did not match the speed. And just my dad's best friend won the Indy in 1956, Pat Flaherty. And he would tell me we'd race on Saturday and Sunday, and you'd go to a wake on Monday. Scary,
Wow.
And yeah, so I am. People say, why is he always in a good mood? Because I survived the wrestling business without being a drug addict. I'm still married for 26 years. I still have like 15 friends from the wrestling business. If you have one, you're lucky. I still have my memory, my health. I never got addicted to drugs. So grateful. I'm the happiest, most grateful pro wrestler in the goddamn world. And bitterness is not something I'm familiar with. And I am just really grateful to be alive. I really am. And getting through this whole alien interview journey without having harm come to me or my family, I'm grateful. And I'm grateful to the military and the government for just stealing emails off my phone and not doing any harm to me. And to anyone that's watching, thank you. I mean that sincerely. Thank you for taking me off the radar screen, because I know probably wasn't easy to avoid me. So thank you.
Well said, John. Thank you for coming on. This has been a fantastic interview. You're very insightful. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, I'm on X, Jon Stewart, IL. On X, I'm at YouTube, Uncle Jon Stewart. There's another Uncle Jon, so you got to put in Uncle Jon Stewart. I don't post that much on YouTube. I just can't engage that platform well. But X, I'm rocking and rolling. I'm like at 24,000 followers since last July. That's pretty remarkable.
Awesome.
And I take the gloves off on X. I let it fly. I'm provocative, but that's my job. That's my self-imposed job. Well, would you post that video and scare us all? Did it get you thinking? Yeah. Did it get you off the couch? Yeah. Did it get your blood pumping? Yeah. Did it get you engaged in the UFO community? Yeah. Okay. Then I'm doing my job, because I want people to be engaged. Exactly. I'm going to engage the UFO community. I'm going to get their blood pumping. I'm going to get people off the metaphoric couch. That's the way we're going to move forward, and I'm going to play a part in that for as long as I can.
Yeah, and we're lucky to have you. Don't go anywhere. I know sometimes it can be frustrating, but stick with us. You're doing a good job, and there's going to be light at the tunnel, because you seem like a hard guy to stop. So just keep charging forward and get there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Thank you, John.
We'll see you next time. Take care.